You're listening to Eat, Play, Sex with Dr. Cat, the place to up-level that sexy life of yours, with expert talk on sex, love, and nutrition.
That's also just a normalization of like, you're not weird because you have shame, and you're not weird because you're lacking confidence in this area. It's actually quite normal.
Yes, yes, and there's power to own that when we own that. Yeah, I'm definitely an awkward turtle at times. Yeah. So one experience that I have for myself is that sometimes people mistake being friendly because I'm a very flirtatious type of person, and it's just the way that I play. And I think, again, it lights everyone up. It's like, I get to see, or I almost like see and pull out and feel myself the epicness of that person. And that can sometimes be misperceived as desire for something more. How would you suggest somebody navigate that, or to be able to hold their boundaries, or compassionately express that it's just fun?
Yeah, I think that there's, I resonate because I'm also a pretty flirty, touchy-feely, especially pre-COVID, touchy-feely kind of person. And I think one thing that I have found helpful is to just name that in newer or newish connections. I'll say something to the fact of, I know that I can be a little flirty and really touchy-feely, and I also really valuing building a friendship with you, and I don't want to give any mixed signals, and I just want to know if it's well received, and if you have any requests for me to modify how I am with you. Or whatever your way of kind of just acknowledging, I know that I can be really flirty. I really love you as a friend. I don't want to send mixed signals. Is it being well received, or do you find it confusing? Right? And that's like pretty blunt.
It is
But
blunt.
I think that there's a way in which I think the other tactic that people try is, oh, I just really love being friends with you. And they just like really
Mhm.
go in and affirming the friendship.
Mm.
And I think that that's helpful and that works, but I think there's something really vulnerable about owning, hey, I'm a flirty person, and I really like being touchy-feely with my friends. And,
Mhm.
and you can even go a level deeper. And this has gotten me in trouble in the past in some of my dynamics. And I really value this with dynamic with you, and I don't want to create something sticky here.
I love that. Yes. I'm also a very direct communicator nowadays. And I
Yeah.
find that when you are that way and you still say it with love and compassion and no judgment, it's received well. I don't know that, at least more recently, I haven't had anybody not take that well.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
just
it's,
so refreshing.
yeah, and it lets everybody know the edges so that everybody can relax in the container and they don't have to be on guard as to, well, where's the edge? Have I hit it yet? That can
Yes.
cause us to not be in our body.
It's so true. I remember, Kat, I had the most profound conversation a couple years with a guy friend. I know that what I would do when I was growing up is if I could tell a guy was into me more than I was into him, or I wasn't into him, I
Hmm.
would put up these really big boundaries, and I would actually like not connect with him at all because I didn't want to have to lead him on. I didn't want to be perceived as leading him on, and I didn't want to have to say no and reject him.
Yes.
And I was talking with a guy friend a couple years ago, and he said really bluntly how unfair that was, because how many of these men, and I'm just using a very gender dynamic here because it just doesn't show up for me with women, how many of these men would have loved to have connected with me in whatever way I was available, and I didn't even
Mm.
give them the chance because I assumed that they would be a no to being. I mean, and there's actually like a seed of real deep wounding there for myself, right? There's this assumption that if I didn't want to have something sexual or romantic with them, they couldn't possibly just want to be friends with me. Or they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't possibly just want to be cuddle buddies with me.
Mm.
And so looking at that own assumption that I was making, and then looking at how I wasn't even giving these people the agency to decide for themselves if they wanted to interact with me in the ways that were available.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah, it was a big
So
game changer.
there's so much permission in a spectrum of interaction and relationship that isn't black or white, friend or not, friend or romantic
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Yes, or even just like when if you have those epic flirting fails. Woo, say that 3 times fast. Epic flirting fails, right? To not necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater and to
Mhm.
assume that no form of connection is available for you there.
Mhm. Yeah. And so there's got to be a level of self-trust in that,
Uh,
that you are able to stop and hold the boundary and not wishy-wash and not, self-sacrifice. So I see so many layers in the story that you just shared. And I think so many women can relate to you as they feel like they're the gatekeepers and they have to fend off, all the hungry men.
mhm. Yeah. And so I think part of that too is if you're gonna play with these friendships in this way, asserting your boundaries
Mhm.
is really important. And then if somebody isn't able to respect your boundaries, then I think that it's clear that they don't have the capacity to have that kind of relationship with you, and you need to assert stronger boundaries and pull back a little bit, right? So I
Yeah.
think having these intimate friendships isn't for everybody. They don't have the capacity to honor those boundaries. But I think so many more people do than Wounded Ally assumed.
Lovers, thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe and head over to eatplaysex.com to connect with me and grab my sexy guides. Because my goal here is to get you to eat, play, and sex better so you can improve your sex life, which will improve every aspect of your life. Until next time, keep it sexy.